Hello, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining today's briefing on Iran, or as people have known it for thousands of years, Persia. Iran is one of the sits at the consequential crossroad right now. It's a crossroad of security in global affairs, and it's also a crossroad for the nation and the Middle East itself. This is basically going to be a standardized briefing format where I will try to give you a clear, concise, and factual snapshot of what is happening on the ground and what could be extrapolated from that for future decision makings. This is entirely done from open source intelligence, publicly available information, and things that I basically come up with. And with that said, we're going to first give credits to the following X users that are listed alphabetically here. I'm sure you will not see your name here, then that's due to my forgetfulness and stupidity. So apologies for that. And the credit goes out to all of you people who are contributing greatly to all the communities. And also not mentioned here is the Fatux Discord server. It also needs credits. There are a great bunch of people there with great insights. So join it. Now, with that said and out of the way, let's dive into an executive summary and the format that I'm choosing here. The first format is that this is unique in a sense that we're doing a two-part format. The first part is this presentation, let's say, or this PowerPoint slide, so to say, with a situation report. And basically, we're building up a scenario of what we know based from open sources, like what kind of planes are where, what kind of news is being broadcast. Even if we know it's probably not right, it gives the intention of messaging. And what kind of military capabilities are present on both sides or both possible sides, and what could, let's say, evolve and what could be goals, and how could we iterate it into understanding what could happen and if that works. And how we're going to build up the scenario is inside Command Modern Operations. I will get into this, what it is later, and explain this to you, and then we will simulate what we discussed in part one. So we basically get to theory craft, or we summarize with open source intelligence, then we build a synthesis of a theory, and then we test it out. That's what we're basically doing here. And I hope you like this format. I'm not sure if it has been done that many times on YouTube or X before. So let's see. Let's start off with a very broad stroke. Iran, Persia, what is it? It's basically the same game that we see many times in history, and just recently also in Venezuela, an extremely rich country, either from minerals or whatever, or in this case, just like with Venezuela, oil. A very rich country with overall poor people, brilliant people. Not sure the people are not bad people. I know a lot of people who have come from Iran and have left the country and escaped it when it became a dictatorship. So brilliant people, wonderful people, a rich country, and yet it's poor because it fell for the typical trap. The typical trap that I would call is some circles, extremists who claim they have the solution to the better world, be it a communist, Marxist, Islamist, whatever, takes over power and removes a government, demonizes it, and then, as we've seen in the case of Iran, starts killing everybody who challenges the power. And in this case, the Islamists won. So they just killed those who helped them get into power. They just killed them. On the right is the order. You can just check it out on Wikipedia. But that's basically it, right? People with ideals, a lot of people with ideals follow some fairy tale, and then it gets turned into a very, very hardcore dictatorship. And in the case of the Iranian dictatorship, as you have not seen, a dictatorship that does not have the slightest remorse of killing tens of thousands of people within a week just to stay in power. Zero remorse. So this is very typical. Similar things that we have seen in China in the Tiananmen massacre, probably also in Russia, but not so publicized. But in the end, the Russians are just killing their own people in Ukraine to stay in power, because if they admit they lose the war, they will just get cooped. So this pattern is typical. Some evil people kill a lot of people or have no problem with them dying in order to stay in power. And Iran is the same story, a sad story, and everyone who is against Iran is probably on the better side than Iran. And physically, it's a very large country. Okay, not China large or India or Russia large, but fairly large. Almost 100 million people with a very challenging topography in most parts. The east of the country is almost all mountains. Almost all desert. The west is almost all mountains. So that's very interesting from a military point of view, and we'll get to that. And something not on the slides here is important, as we've seen with the protests. The people don't like the dictatorship. So whatever happens is an ultimate threat to the dictatorship. This is why certain factors are important, and you will get to that in a bit. Talking about dictatorships, we have something that is also a very interesting military structure, the dual military structure of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian army. So that has direct historical parallels. For example, Nazi Germany had the same with the Waffen-SS and the Wehrmacht. And the SEPA or Pasdaran, which is on the left, the IRGC, they are basically the ideological army of the Iranian regime. The military is normally a force that is there to defend the country, right? Not the IRGC. The IRGC doesn't defend that. It defends the revolution of Islamic terror state and the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. They are not there to protect the country. They are there to protect the dictatorship from the people. Very important. And the other part is the Iranian army. They are supposed to defend the country from outside sources. But that's also a bit of, let's say, the problem that we've seen. The Iranian army, some had hoped they would coup and attack the IRGC, start a civil war, get rid of them. They're too weak, they didn't do it, who knows? And you can also be sure that they have the leadership sorted out. So that didn't happen. Maybe they tried, we don't know, right? But the matter of fact is that these two military units have to be seen, as for now, as the enemy of the people. We don't know if the Iranian army would switch sides at some point. I'm sure CIA, Mossad, and all the others are working. But what we can say is that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps will not switch sides. So that's the part where, after the Iranian dictatorship killed tens of thousands of people, I would say, okay, happens, right? Good luck, guys, getting out of this one alive. Deserved that you don't. And so let's see what we have. The IRGC is basically the Iranian Waffen-SS, and the other one is the Iranian Wehrmacht, if you want historical parallels. And let's go to the overall military capabilities, not even going into detail on the two sides, the SEPA and the Artesh. So just in general, it's a wild mix. They have the Tomcat is the funny thing that everyone loves, the F-14 Tomcat that they have from the age of Shah, but who knows how many are still flying. So most important is actually the F-4 Phantom, for example, in the Air Force, the Hawk air defense systems, and some other areas that they have from the 80s. Then they have a significant amount of Russian military aid, especially since the Shahed drone deal as part of the Ukraine war. And they also had a war with Israel just about a year ago, or 1.5 years ago. And they showed that they can't defend themselves against Israel. Good, huh? So we can assume that they're still weakened from that war, and we can assume that despite Israel having a genius military with extreme success, U.S. Air Force is going to be a different beast for Iran. Even if the Israelis have fantastic things that they can do, the U.S. military is probably better on the top end, and at the same time wider in quantity and their ability to project force. So that's going to be a very interesting war, and we will see how interesting it will be, and in my theory at least. And as we know, there's Chinese assets that are suspected to be on the Iranian side. Personally, I think the Chinese are not giving anything that would give information to third parties, but the main purpose is the Chinese want to collect intelligence themselves. Let's go further into the military aspects and doctrine of Iran. Personally, I think they have a very simple doctrine, and that's quantity and saturation on all domains. We are seeing this on the ocean side. They have, let's say, the speedboat swarm approach, where they will flood the ocean with hundreds or dozens of boats. Then in the air, we have seen this in Ukraine, the Shahed saturation attack with hundreds of suicide drones. And in space, we have also seen it against Israel, hundreds of ballistic missiles. And in land, Iran didn't have a land war for some time, but against Iraq in the 80s, we have seen human wave attacks of the most disgusting kind. Red armies, World War II like. Send them on the attack. Doesn't matter if they have a rifle or not, they will all die anyway, and there will be enough rifles to be picked up, so to say. Very disgusting. And another thing that is due to the sanctions and everything, they also have to reverse engineer and produce a lot of things locally for strategic autonomy. The Hawk, the TOW, Towed Anti-Tank Missile, the Shahed drones, all are examples of reverse engineered items of different types. The Shahed, for example, is a Dornier anti-radar drone concept of the 80s of the Germans. The TOW is an American anti-tank missile, so is the Hawk, an American ground-based air defense system. And usable, but probably not in the Western quality. And going back to, and sometimes also genius. The Hawk was also adapted as air-to-air missile for the F-14 Tomcat because they didn't have any more Phoenix missiles. And so they are doing interesting things, not in the class of Western militaries, but it's good enough so that the main tactic will be staying above anti-aircraft artillery, so anti-aircraft guns, and shoulder-fired infrared missile range, so Stinger, Igla, these types of systems. So let's say above 25,000 feet is a safe zone. If you're above 20,000 or so feet, you're going to be safe as an Air Force. If, and now comes the big if you understand that anyone trying to shoot down an airplane that high, he needs to have a radar-guided missile usually. And this is, I believe, the strategy that the US will employ on Israel. And this is what Israel also did in the last war, because it basically means they will have to emit a radar signal, like we see the big radars here, to shoot at your plane. And that allows on the other side what's called, see it indeed, suppression of enemy air defense, destruction of enemy air defense, with the legendary HARM missile and some other ways. And so that's how they can keep relatively safe if they have SID assets near friendly planes that are able to immediately destroy anything that starts to turn up a radar system. And on the naval front, it's a bit different. We're seeing here marinetraffic.com. This is the Strait of Hormuz. And in the Strait of Hormuz here, we can see there is a significant amount of traffic. This is a map from marine traffic from yesterday. A lot of oil goes there, hundreds of boats. And the Iranians will use hundreds of boats to swarm, lay mines, whatever. The Americans will not want to have this strait closed for a prolonged time. And this is my personal theory why they have the carrier strike group there. I'll get into that in a bit on why I think that's the case. And they will basically work at keeping this open or destroying any Iranian forces. We have also seen MQ-4 Triton drones and P-8 Poseidon aircraft of the US fly this patrol here basically every day, mapping everything out from here in the UAE. And the UAE, for example, also has zero interest in this getting closed. So this will be an important factor for the US. Then the last part, the smallest part, army. This will not be a land war. It will be a land war for the Iranians who revolt, but not for the US or Israelis, with some few exceptions. The first exception, CSAR, combat search and rescue. So if a plane gets shut down, has a malfunction, or something that ends up with a plane crashing and pilots being on the ground with a parachute in Iranian territory, they will get in, they will get them out. I'm rather convinced that this is a capability that the US have pre-staged in various locations, for example, in the UAE, in Al Udeid maybe also, or maybe in Kuwait, but they will have combat search and rescue assets pre-staged with the ability, this will be very risky, to get pilots out. The second, and this is the CSAR, the CSAR mission will only come to play if somebody crashes, right? The second one that I personally consider to be an almost guaranteed mission is securing nuclear sites. We have seen it in Syria. A regime change always leads to a vacuum. So when the previous military and leadership disappear, usually the people in the normal military, they just go to their families or whatever to protect them. And there's no police, no justice, nothing. And this usually leads to looting. And this usually leads to evil people looting things that they cannot normally loot. In terms of nuclear sites, maybe nuclear materials for dirty bombs, not nuclear weapons, but just, blow up highly nuclear material to contaminate things. People don't want that. The US doesn't want that. Israel doesn't want that. No country wants that, except maybe the IRGC. So I think one of the key game plans that is probably already in place are special operations units and quick reaction airborne forces, think Rangers, or 82nd Airborne, these kinds of guys. They will be ready to get in there with our Marines, with Ospreys and whatnot. They will be able to get there, physically secure nuclear sites, make sure nobody gets in and out so that the material can be removed, maybe even during the takeover time. I'm sure this is very, very meticulously planned. And the Iranians will also not be able to oppose that if the regime falls. And there's an element of Rangers, 82nd Airborne or SEALs or whatever on the ground securing a site. They will have combat aircraft nearby at all times, and even combat helicopters able to destroy any opposing force that could try to overwhelm them. That will not happen. So this is what I think it will be a key area. Now let's go a bit further back to the traditional stuff. So the Russian assets that Iran received are not bad, I think. And the reason why I think they're not bad is very simple. Israel was very selective in what they destroyed during the war, and they destroyed these things. So they must have been of the quality that Israel wanted them gone. And as we've seen from the picture on the top right, they've done so successfully. So this is basically the big stuff that they have are these resonance anti-stealth radars. They also call them Gadir in Persian. So they basically always take Russian stuff and put their name on it and pretend it's theirs, but they just got it from the Russians in the case of these high-end systems. Then we also have the Tombstone radar of the SA-20 Gargoyle, which was quite famously destroyed by the Israelis at one of the air defense sites. They precisely just destroyed the radar and left everything else intact, basically showing them, look, we can hit whatever we want. We just killed the radar, so now your air defense system is useless. We left everything else intact. We could have, of course, killed it. So that is quite the flex that the Israelis have shown, that they have systems, for example, the ROCs or Golden Horizon air-launched ballistic missiles that are so good and so precise, Iranians have no means against them. And then the last thing that is in quite numbers as a typical big Russian system is the SA-15 Gauntlet or Tor, which is this vertical launched short-range air defense and missile defense system. They have 24 or so of them. We don't know how much ammo they have. We assume in our planning that they have them. Then they have the indigenous air defense systems. On top, you can see why I said, look, they have so much infrared guided stuff. Planes have to be higher altitude to avoid them. And what we have there is really a potpourri of very creative systems. We have what we're seeing here, the Bavard 373. It looks a bit like a Patriot, but the missile is like a standard missile. So the Iranians are quite creative at this. Then we have this, I would call it a book on wheels system. I think this is called the Kordat something. And then we have the Mersat Hawk, which is basically an Iranian Hawk, modernized systems, and they have various systems, all of various iterations. They're probably not incapable. They're probably even not bad, but they have proven to be no match for the Israeli Air Force. Then they're not a match for the US Air Force. Now let's go to the thing where I have my own theory that goes against everyone, but it's my video, so I can make my theory here. In end of January, all the allies said, we don't want Americans here. They cannot strike from our airfields. I think this is not, and everyone said, oh, look, the Americans have a problem. The Saudis, UAE, and everyone, they're not supporting them. I disagree. I think the Americans asked them to make this statement, and I will explain you why. This is the overall area of operation here. As you can see, there is this this very, very big real estate of Iran. Iraq is actually less than half the size here. And we have these bases here. We have the Persian Gulf. We have here at the mouth the Hormuz Strait, and then the Arabian Sea. We have here the U.S. Al Udeid base in Qatar. We have a base in United Arab Emirates. We have a base near Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And we have down here Jordan, Israel, and the base in Muvafak near Amman, where most of the American Air Force assigned to this area of operation is based right now. So you might ask yourself, what are these colorful lines here, and why do I say that the US wanted UAE, Saudi Arabia, and other countries to suggest that they cannot fly and use their bases? I think it's very simple. We know that Iran is focused on saturation attacks. Saturation attacks concentrate a lot of units on a very small area to overwhelm the enemy there. That's bad if you have a couple of 1,000 kilometers of real estate to defend, right? By these countries making the claim that they will not be a base for the US, Iran stops having, so to say, the political leverage to attack the bases there without, let's say, declaring war against the country. So if U.S. troops are based in UAE and they would attack Iran from there, UAE could say, look, they were just attacking the base. They're not at war with us. But now, if the Iranians attack there, they are at war with UAE. Same with Saudi Arabia and the other countries. So unless US has units take off from here and shoot Iran from these places, they will be immune. So these bases are safe if they don't attack Iran from there. That means that US doesn't have to defend. And why is that important? Because as we said, saturation attacks focus on a specific place to overwhelm the defenders and make a successful attack. That works really well if the enemy doesn't know where you're going to strike. But by taking all of the Arabian Peninsula basically off the map by this political statement, there's just two places where Iran can attack. Here, that's the Carrier Strike Group 3. And the Strait of Hormuz, they were going to do that anyway. Here is Israel. They were going to attack there anyway. So in a sense, the US took the most convenient approach of attack from Iran by having these countries declare that they are not interested in this war. And these targets here are very close to Iran physically, so there's very little time to defend. And so this would be the easiest attack for Iran. They have taken it off the board. Brilliant move. Because if they want to attack here, Muvafak or Israel, they have to fly all the way here with their Shahid drones, thousands or whatever of Shahid drones. The thing is, the Shahid drone is not a ballistic missile. It's a 90 to 100 mile slow model plane, let's say, big model plane with an explosive warhead. You can basically have air defense fighters flying defensive counter-air missions here, shoot down dozens of these drones, fly back, land, rearm, fly back, and do it again, because it takes hours for them to cover all this real estate, while fighter jets can cover this very quickly in 20, 30 minutes. So they basically bought themselves a defense in depth here that Iran has to focus its troops on. And then the US is like, okay, we're focusing everything here because we will have to defend Israel here, and we focus everything together with Israel. They will not have the ability to oversaturate this sector when they focus the defense here. It's a brilliant play, if you ask me, and I think this is how it goes. And it's not against the US wish that these bases are not used. And are not used offensively, I might add, because I'm very convinced that all the tankers here will just fly over here, not attack Iran, but they will just happen to refuel US and Israeli planes here and go back to Riyadh. I'm very convinced of that. And they will also fly here and refuel US Carrier Strike Group aircraft here. And this is the other one. The Strait of Hormuz is a no-brainer. This is why the Carrier Strike Group is, from my position here, I put it here, because it will also have room to maneuver so that Iran cannot attack it. And its main task will be making sure the Strait of Hormuz is clear. They are not here to attack this part of Iran. There's nothing there. The focus on the campaign will be go up here and to the left of Strait of Hormuz. You can go basically draw a line from here to the Caspian Sea, and everything to the left is interesting. Everything to the right is just desert, basically, and the city here and there. So that's my theory on this. Now, which also gets us to the next point, the basing aspect. We can see here Tehran and the famous Mercator projection that makes everyone think that Russia is immensely great, and also Greenland, for example. Trump thinks Greenland is gigantic, but it's not. It's just near the North Pole, so it looks bigger. And the same goes with this. You would think that Diego Garcia is close. It's actually twice as far away as Suda Bay, and it looks almost similar on the map because of the Mercator projection. So Diego Garcia is great for certain aspects. For attacking Iran, no. Because the closest part of Iran here is desert. The fun part is far away. And someone say, yeah, but there's going to be a surprise factor. Yeah, the surprise factor is a lot bigger from the United States because they have to cross the Atlantic and whatnot, and they get lost. They could be anywhere. Here, yes, they can take off and they will not have a pre-attack warning, but actually from here, they have to shoot a missile that goes here, or they have to fly up here. So it's not so surprising, actually. They only mask the takeoff. And after the initial strike, who cares? It will be an open war for a couple of days, probably a full war for a week or 2 or 3. And if somebody has a spy in Suda Bay, they will just say, oh, another plane took off, another plane took off. And they will say there's 24 hours a day. There's no intelligence value gathered there. The initial strike, yeah, I agree, but you can also have a surprise attack from United States by just flying the same route that the Midnight Hammer planes flew. And then you can actually go to Iran and just fly to Diego Garcia. That can also work. But I'm just making the point, nothing hinges on Diego Garcia. That's the point that I'm making. And you can see from the distances, doesn't make sense. Somebody suggested to use Guam instead. That's fucking insane, sorry. You better use US and the Barksdale, right? So even US East Coast, if you would use, for example, Bangor or something, or Dover, Dover would be a lot closer than Guam. So, and it's in the US, so you don't have a logistics issue. So it's easier to use US than Guam. So that's just the context. Now, let's just do one little quick roundup here. It's no longer 1999. People suggested that the firepower the US has concentrated is less than previously. Not so sure about the details on the Iraqi freedom part, but certainly 1999 had 1,000 planes. That's totally awesome, really. But when you look at the sources, here is the link down there. 1999 was an age where you had dump bombs dropping F-16s that needed air cover and electronic warfare cover. And this mission was done to destroy a bunch of buildings in Baghdad. Today, you would just send 4 F-35s down there. They would do everything and kill all the buildings with like 8 bombs. So no, it's you don't need 90 planes to do it. You can do it with at least less than 10 planes now, right? Maybe 4 is too low, depending on how many bombs they drop, but most of the bombs will not hit, right? So precision-guided munitions of today are worth a lot more as a force multiplier than just dump bombs. So if they had 1,000 planes in 1999, 100 planes of today are stronger. Don't believe it? Yeah, it is. And this is how we get to my order of battle, and a lot of thanks goes to the open source community for that. Now let's give you a quick context here. We know US Air Force can do mission planning and logistics. I'm not trying to do an exercise in logistics. It just takes a lot of time for me to prepare that mission. It doesn't give any added value because we know they can do it. And it takes simulation time and makes the video extremely long. If we have planes flying all across the planet at a, let's say, saturated simulation speed, it doesn't make sense. So what I've done here, let's start off before going to the EAF, I have synthetic bases that I created. This is external base 3, external base 1, external base 2, and the CONUS, Continental US base. These are, planes that are in Sofia, in Suda Bay, in, who knows, Moron, Aviano, God knows where. Also some in Saudi Arabia, some in Tel Aviv on a civil airport. Doesn't matter. Not part of the discussion. They can get them there. They can do the job. So that's why I would just put them here, somewhere in some desert. This is just important context. The planes that I did keep and at the original locations are the IAF bases and Muvafak. So the IAF in this scenario that I'm using, the rest of the Israeli Air Force will be in this scenario focused on defensive posture for the initial attack. So only take off when the Iranians shoot back, which we didn't model here, because it takes hours, as I said, if their drones come back. So the Israelis have 20 F-16C Barak in Ramat David near Haifa. 44 F-16, F-15C in the Akev base at Tel Nov, the headquarters base. Then Hatzerim has F-15E Rams, this is the Israeli Strike Eagle version, 24. Nevatim has 20 F-35 Adir, so the Israeli Fat Amy. And the other Fat Amy's are counted on defensive counter-air. When you say, oh, you're using too much, okay, then take the 44 in your mind, let's say, trade them for 30 more F-35s doing the attack, and have 44 more F-15s on the defense. It doesn't matter, really. You can change it how you want. We will not figure out how they do it. This is my approach. And if, to be honest, it would actually make sense to have more F-35s attacking and more F-15s defending, because they are super sneaky stealth and will get the job done, and they are not so stealth. So this is actually more challenging for the Israeli side. And their 32 F-16I Sufa, which is, I would say, it's like an F-16 Strike Eagle version-ish, like a strike version that the Israelis have, a more modern version. This is the Israeli order of battle for the initial strike that we're going to model. We're basically going to model, I'll get to that, only around the 0 hour, and I will explain also why. Then we have the US bases, continental US, 10 B-52s, 3 B-2 Spirits. They're all just flying with JASSMs and going to do a long-range strike. So they will not be seen by Iranian radars or anything. Basically, the B-2s will take off, fly here somewhere, and start shooting JASSMs and land again. Of course, theoretically, they would have come from the US and they would fly another 20 hours back. We don't want to simulate that. That's why it's here. Same with the B-52s. So the external bases are just for the insane amount of tankers, and we also have E3 units, the AVAX units, and the Bacons, the airborne, let's say, data links. And the third base has a bunch of Raptors that are still in Lakenheath, if I recall right, doing combat air patrol. Now in Muvafak, we actually try to have rather precise planes that are there. We've seen the A-10s have been evacuated, so we didn't move them. So we have 36 F-16C Block 52 with a half glass coating. That's kind of, the fanciest US Air Force F-16 in the Wild Weasel role with a lot of, let's say, tech gadgets that are cutting edge, radar reduction. Then we have 24 F-15 Eagles, Strike Eagles, 20 F-35s, and 6 Growlers. And you will see later that I'm not using the Growlers as a suppression of enemy air defense asset, but as an offensive ECM platform. And we have 2 Ohio-class SSGNs with their Tomahawk missiles. You may say, where is the carrier group? Where are the destroyers? This is basically the assumption that we don't need them for this scenario. The VLS, the vertical launch systems of the destroyers, will be fit for defense against ballistic missiles and missiles. The carrier strike group, in my opinion, will also be focused on defensive counter-air because it doesn't have that many other assets helping it. And it will only come into play to offensively to open the Strait of Hormuz or keep it open. So for this 0 hour strike, the destroyers and the carrier strike group will be in a defensive posture anyway. Now, let's get back to what are we actually looking at. We see here, as I mentioned, from the Strait of Hormuz to the Caspian Sea, you can almost make a drawing, and most interesting things are to the left, a bit down here at the port. Okay, I'll give you that. But otherwise, it's not much. So as you can see, most of the battle is going to be in the west of the country, and not far away from the Iraqi border, actually. Why should you come from here? You have to fly all over the Persian Gulf and then all across the country to get here from, let's say, here, Qatar. No, I just go from here. It's much shorter. This is why I think it's an intentional move from the West to wage war from the West, so to say. And with that said, and another important shout out here to Ian Ellis Jones for this exceptional map that I'm using here. I hope it's okay, Mr. Ian Ellis Jones, for using it. It's an excellent map. I'm trying to give you as much attribution as I can. Let's derive what we do from this. My opinion is the strategy will be devastating and overwhelming. And I'm trying to define that. Overwhelming is you're not losing anything because you have so much going at them. They cannot shoot anything down because you're saturating them, not the other way around. So you're overmatching everything that they have so that you basically have zero losses. Maybe the one blown up engine or whatever malfunction, you will not have a zero loss guarantee, but you will be very close to zero losses. And the second factor, it will be devastating. With that, I mean, you get to neutralize the enemy missile bases, the Air Force, missile forces, whatever they have where they can punch out and do command and control. You will be able to destroy that within 2 hours of the 0 hour. That's devastation and overwhelming. That's what I think should be the game plan. Then we will see. Then we will probably see the power structures revert to attack the rest of the world with whatever they can, both hybrid and ballistic missiles on Israel on one side, and on the other side, the internal struggle will probably be very strong because Israel is known to have supreme intelligence and active hybrid war assets inside Iran. That's one thing. The other thing is, now that we've made the simulation scenario, we have an order of battle established that we've shown. We have made a definition of what we can try to do within 2 hours of 0 hour, how we're going to do it with CMO, Command Modern Operations. And the most distinctive aspect that people need to understand, in many computer games, you have something called the fog of war. The fog of war in Command is far more complex. You don't even have a fog of war, you have a fog of your eye, let's say, because you can only see what your active sensors or passive sensors can pick up. So when you see something, let's say these people, then you will have them on the map. When you don't have an eye there, you don't see them. When you have a radar return there, you can know where it is. But if you're jammed, you don't know where it is anymore, right? So we will have this set up in a very, very realistic manner. We are iterating the reality that is there now based on open source intelligence with a simulated hypothesis on how it could go. And we have some key differences. We're doing it in editor mode, so we're not trying to win a game, but we can switch sides and we can say, look, I'm the game master. Let's go to the Iranian side. Let's see how it looks for them. Because when we see, we have a sensor view, so we can see what the Iranians can still see, because of course, in the initial strike, the Americans will try to disrupt all the sensors. And the Americans have all the stealth stuff, we can see. So the goal is to understand if our proposed concept here is a feasible iteration of what could happen in the conflict. And people said, oh, Command, that's a game. Nah, it's a game. It's a game, and it's also the software used by a lot of militaries for a lot of things. So, yeah, it's a game. Or you can say it's a military-grade simulation tool that is also being sold as a game. And when you look at the Command license prices in the tens of thousands of dollars per year, you can be happy that you can actually buy it for a single price of, I think it's like 50 euros, a one-time payment. So yeah, it's such a game that militaries are willing to spend per seat many $1,000s per year for this. Because they just want their people to play games. So no, take it with a grain of salt, especially at the complexity level that we're using here. With that said, let's go to the simulation. Some brief explanation of the different circles that you see. The dotted lines of each circle is the enemy side. The full lines are our side. And the colors all mean the same. So the, let's say, brown, orange-ish circle, these big ones here, they are our weapons that are able to attack ground targets. In this case, this big circle, for example, is from this submarine here, the Tomahawk missiles. Then you have the red circles. These are circles of things that can attack air units. We will see this a lot more when fighters are up. Right now, we're only seeing air defense units that we've detected or our own here that have these circles. Then the white ones are radars that can detect aircraft. We only have a select ones up, but that's basically what the white circles are. And the yellow circles are the radars from for detection of surface areas like air, like ground units or ships. And well, you see a few of them. The green circles are sonar circles from the submarines, the two that we have here. Now, with that said, I'm just going to start it and push it up to the max and explain it as we go along. We can see it's now 1800. This is the pulse time. This is why we will be in full speed all the time. And we will see the simulation develop quickly in the beginning because there's not so many units. And we have actually the limiting factor here is the simulation speed on my 12 core CPU. And if I zoom out a bit, you can see that the US and also Iran has a few satellites, but US has satellites. Israel has satellites of various types that can do various things. So here's Capella, radar mapping satellites, and all these things. And this is also for your understanding what you're seeing here when you see times running on the map. This is the last time we had information about a specific contact. In this case, it seems to be that there was a satellite approximately 8 to 10 minutes ago that passed over and gave information on these targets. And when you click a specific target, for example, this here, you can see this is track number 1299. This is a Cordat 15 mod surface to air missile that was detected by unknown. It was before the scenario, so um, that's that. But that's basically how it goes. Or if I go here, it's a Cordat 3 air defense unit. Defending, observed right now by the radar of the Triton that is flying here. And that's basically how it looks. And here we can see an RQ-180 moving in, trying to get near Tehran, as you can see. And we have a rivet joint flying across the front line and the Florida driving around at 5 knots in shallow water. And I've mentioned before, we have the Iranian side as well, and we have a sensor view logic. And I will go to that now. So from the Iranian side, it looks a bit like this. The Iranians right now only detect, they have here, you can see, they have drones themselves up, some reconnaissance drones. And the only thing that they see is a bogey here at 50,000 feet, 450 knots flying around. And this is detected by various radars. Here's another one, 56,000 feet, 300 knots, detected by these radar systems here. You can see a satellite pass along. They know, oh, it's a KH-11. So we should have, if we look to the Americans, we should have some good understanding on what's going on. And there's another American radar satellite passing over us. So there, I just saw the circle up here. A Capella radar satellite. So if we switch over to the US, probably have new, we can see it here, how these immediately detect new things or allow better classification of things. And while we were over on the Iranian, let's say, view, we've also seen something else up here. We are shooting. We're seeing an initial volley of Tomahawks leave this SSGN, Georgia. I've named it. I'm not sure which submarine is there. And he starts shooting, as we can see here, his Tomahawk missiles. out to targets, and the 0 hour is 20 0 100, and so we have about 1.5 hours from 0 hour. We see B-52s here move out to these launch points here in Kuwait, and if we zoom in a bit, we can see various other units and their flight plans. They're just doing circles to basically um, synchronize each other. And then we have the B2s here that are basically climbing up. They're going to fly there, shoot their weapons, and land. It's, as I said, it's a very straightforward way. And here we have more units, tankers, and you can see the tankers actually just moving to here and then enter a figure of eight pattern to provide aerial refueling, one of the 4 aerial refueling missions that we have set up. And this also shows you what these X's are that you can see here. You can see here, this is X5 and X4. This is their waypoints. So when we define a mission, we define where that happens, and this is how that looks like. And yeah, we can see more F-35s, Israeli ones, moving in here. Let's see, let's follow their path. So they're going to attack at the Korama Bad Iman Ali surface-to-surface missile complex. Quite the big one, actually. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing these flight plans appear here. We can see here these more beautiful figure of eights. This is actually, I think, electronic warfare mission. And the way that I've set this up is that most of these, let's say, bigger assets are not entering Iranian airspace. They are staying at the border for let's say refueling, electronic warfare, um, radar missions, and all these things. They will just stay here, and only fast jets will move into Iran and bomb stuff. So we will not have a Midnight Hammer 2 where a B2 flies to Fordor or anything sight and drops a big bomb there. It's not going to happen. All of our bomber assets are just cruise missile carriers here, as we can see here. These B-52s here, they're attacking Bandar e Tahari East radar down here or here, and they carry 20 Yassam ER missiles. And now we can see some of the systems that we have already activated the radars for various reasons. I thought overmatch of U.S. firepower, they would prefer to use radars on some of the units actively to ensure that they catch any surface-to-surface missile launchers move into firing position or trying to move around. I think this will be more of a approach for the U.S. Than no emissions and emissions control. And we can see here further missile launches, and there we can actually see another thing that RQ-180 is already deep inside Iran. So let's see, we have quite the time acceleration. So it's 200 miles in already with the time acceleration that we have, and a lot of missiles going on. We can go switch over to Iran, and they see there's some units. They can see that they have no clue. I will just switch to the God's eye mode so that we are on the Iranian side, but we see everything, and we see uh, very different view, right? Um, so the Iranians know there is an airbase, but they don't have an idea on what's going on. Right? So, and this drone here is invisible to them, it seems. So let's switch back over to the US because it's actually getting more and more interesting. So we see here more Tomahawks going out. Let's actually switch to the Iranian side, see if any of these Tomahawks being launched down here are being detected. Not yet. While we are at this, I can show you that there's a lot more detail than you're seeing here. Looks like a lot of units. That's, I would say, not the case. There's a lot more units. Let's go here. I will show you. So this is Isfahan. I will You can see it. I put the topographical map view in, and you can see this is the Air Force. And when you click on it, you see a lot of things pop up because actually the airfield is just shown on the map as one unit. But when you look at it, it has each hardened aircraft shelter is modeled, and in this case, also with an aircraft in it. This is the yellow sign with the black triangle. Some have some units in. So this is tremendously detailed, and this is not only the case for this airfield, but this is also the case. For example, let's look at here. You can see it looks like there is SSM complex. No, actually, all the bunkers are there on the mountainside, individually modeled. So when you go and see here at Kermanshah, the city, there's the valley north of the city, and you will find that. And we'll make a satellite picture, and you will find these bunkers that I just shown you here also on the satellite picture when you look at them. So this is really detailed, all of it. Now let's turn back to the other map. And you can see the Iranians have not detected anything, otherwise we would have a log entry here. And we go back to the US and see what the status is. So we can see they will detect these fairly soon. I'm pretty confident because I didn't do a lot of planning to make sure that they avoid um, being caught by a radar. So let's actually look at this from the Iranian side. And I've enabled game sounds. See if that helps. But they have not discovered them yet. It's not so easy to discover very low flying Tomahawk missiles. And we are only 45 minutes away from actual impact uh, all the way over the country, so even down to Tehran. So still, let's say, indicative information that there are stings and they will have some soft power information like somebody saw some plane took off somewhere, but from their own systems, like their big radar systems, you can see the white circles, nothing yet. And I can open it from here so we can talk about this while we're waiting. So here we can see that the US has launched approximately 200 cruise missiles by now. And some are already in Iranian airspace. And the Iranians don't know about it, practically, despite us peppering the country with air defense systems. As you can see, the radars are active, so that's not the question here. And it even lost a contact here. Mm. I know why. The Iranians don't know yet why. Well, some of them say jam because they're jamming themselves, but they are also being jammed now. It's just not hasn't arrived at the say um, upper ranks yet. So we should see. They should be passing some of the radars so close that they will not be ignorable, or they will be able to pick them up. I'm quite confident. And you say, yeah, but there is this airplane flying. Yeah, the Iranians will know that this is a U.S. aircraft flying there, and we've seen the P-8 on flight radar every day in the past weeks. They didn't shoot it down, right? So how do they know the difference now? Let's see. And we still have no Tomahawks on the radar. This is um, this is why you have flying radar systems, because they can detect cruise missiles a lot better than anything on the ground. So yeah, 40 minutes almost to go, and still no, let's say, heart attack indicators. And with that, we would like to add the assumption that here we will, as let's say, supreme headquarter over the scenario, we know if something goes wrong if we're in the bunker in Tehran, and if that radar picks something up, we would know. Oh, that's awfully loud. Let me reduce the sound here a bit. And now we know it's a bit quieter, good, still, that the Iranians have picked up these missiles. I have picked up these missiles here. And with that said, I'm turning off the game sounds again because with 200 missiles inbound, I don't want to have this klaxon every 200 times, right? So apparently, the Iranians have figured out there's a lot of missiles flying right after their radar site, and they see that there's this, let's say, Tomahawk train running. They have classified something else. They have classified the rivet joint as RC um, RC 135, but they've only been able to classify it as an electronics intelligence plane, not what it is, from 80 kilometers using infrared sensors. Quite impressive upgrade, actually, but probably Chinese sourced, and they have good thermal. Now let's go back to CENTCOM. Wow, that looks very different to the calm sides of the Iranians, right? So we can see um, the train is well underway, well underway, um, and everything is on track for this 8 o'clock 0 hour, and we're seeing tomahawks all over the place. Tomahawk train, JASMs, tomahawks. Everything is looking for an ingress into the Iranian airspace. These B-52s down here over the desert are also going to shoot their missiles quite soon. The goal that they have is basically shoot these missiles at coastal defense sites. It'll be interesting to see. The rivet joint makes a detour; it doesn't want to fly over those. And you can see here, quite, I think, realistic that this submarine here is tasked with destroying things on this side. They are flying here to destroy that. The submarine here is tasked with basically destroying everything up here. And that is our approach. Now, as you can see, when I mentioned I don't want to fly all the way from US to here, it's quite apparent now. It just takes a long time to simulate all of that, despite as well 12 CPUs and a decent GPU. And we can see the Tomahawks flying in, almost crossing over. We can see our happy RQ-180 cruising along there unhindered and moving over. We should actually see some other fancy stuff very soon. Um, that is not launched yet. I will actually zoom in for a second. We can see a lot of these planes depart this space here, but I am looking for something. Oh yes, these are Iranian missions. So we can see kind of the flight path some of these guys is taking from the Israeli Air Force, and you can see that they have a lot of missions. But the one that we're really looking for that I haven't seen yet is the the Golden Horizon carriers, some F-15 Eagles here, somewhere here, similar to those that are basically tasked to shooting ballistic missiles at targets in Iran. Just trying to find them. And the thing with them is that they will basically shoot them just briefly because they can fly so fast. So they will just shoot them shortly before let's say the 0 hour. Yeah, we will have to wait where they are. I hope they will come. Otherwise, they are just an inaccuracy, or let's say a contingency that was not planned for. I think they came from Hatzarim. They're probably not even taken off. Oh, they have taken off. Well, you can see how vigilant my mission planning was. That I don't know where they are. Oh, here's one. Right, perfect. So you can see he's flying not too far actually, just flying into Iraqi airspace. Then he will shoot his missile from here, all the way to an air defense site in Tehran. And yeah, that way the Iranians will know nothing about it. They will just have a missile land in their face. And this is the military superiority that the US and um, um, Israel are going to put to effect here. So we can see the simulation is slowing down a bit. Apologies. And we are going to try to accelerate it now. So 30 minutes before 0 hour, we see that there have been no significant successes of the Iranians of hitting these um, systems here, these systems. What we do see from, let's say, this, you can see this text here flashing. Basically, the Iranians turned the Christmas tree on, let's say, and they realized that something is up. And they've, what normally you don't do, they've turned on also the targeting radars of their air defense systems. They need to do that to be able to detect an aircraft, right? But this is a double-edged sword. Now they can also be seen by see it indeed the wild weasels of the U.S. Air Force and the Israelis. And now we can also see a significantly more saturated picture of these gray flight plans. We can see down here these are B-52s basically just shooting their missiles over the Persian Gulf or towards the Persian Gulf. We are seeing three main axes that we have here. One is a combined, I would say, axis. This is the attack here on the airfield of Deizful. This is the Vahati Air Base. Tab 4 is the unit there, and I've put some decent air defense units there because, as you can see from the Iranian topography, this is in the flat country where the radars can see a lot further than in the mountainous terrain here. So there is some air defense units down here to protect one of the few areas of western Iran that is not mountainous terrain. And you might say, oh, mountainous terrain is great for the defender, right? Not in this case. I will explain why. Yes, the Iranians in a traditional land war, flat country is great, great for the attacker, and mountain is great for the defender. Here it is the opposite. The defender has to find tomahawks and JASSM missiles that are flying extremely close to the ground using curvature or contour of the Earth flight to hide their flight path, and I'm just having the missiles fly straight here. In realistic mission planning, they would be making use of all the canyons and whatnot to basically blend in with the terrain. And they're still having a hard time, as you've seen, finding those missiles. So no, it's not good for the defender. Um, not good at all against modern cruise missiles. And here we can see that few, if any, shutdowns have occurred. I'm actually going to check now. Let's go and see the Iranian side, how it looks. So they have a lot of missiles that they see now. Good. There is the river joint that they have classified. And apart from that, so they know that there's cruise missiles down here. They have no clue on what's coming up here in the north, despite us putting all the goodies up here. Now let's see if down in the south they have shot at anything. So no. So we are still at 100, 220, 230 cruise missiles, and now four of the Golden Horizon air-launched ballistic missiles. That's what we have. And with that, we go back to the US and see how it looks like. Um, so we are already here, getting there, getting towards Tehran. These are usually, I think, targeted towards Tehran, yes. And so we're really getting there to a situation where less than 30 minutes ahead um, of the strikes, we are seeing very little activity from Iran in actually just detecting them, not even shooting them down on what's coming at them. With that said, let's try to accelerate time a bit more. So let's like a more detailed look at what developed in the past minute or two. We can see that the U.S. Cruise missiles are further getting into the country. We can see here. Let's go across from top to bottom. We can see here a significant asset is the Growler, set to electronic warfare and also using its radar. In the north, we still have a rivet joint loitering around, let's say. We do have some Tomahawks here skirting at the Turkish border. Here we have one of the elements, Strike Eagles, that are going to attack this airbase here. It's called Hamedan Air Base, one of the air bases before Tehran, that will see a significant attack package directed at it. Here, furthermore, we see more JASMs hitting the air defenses near this SSM base. Um, Here we can see more strike packages, mostly aimed at these SSM bases here and the air defenses around it. Um, there's also a significant amount of, as you can see from the many strike packages, going in basically directly into Isfahan, striking the airfield and everything there, which is probably one of the hardest targets here. The target in this initial wave on Tehran, because there has a lot of concentration of air defense, is not going to be a manned strike, but this, let's say, the trains that are running, the Tomahawk trains, these are aimed at facilities of air defense and command and control in Tehran. Here and below, we see the multi-pronged Tomahawk strike on different radars and defense units down here. We can see here the B2, no, the B-52s. They're doing the last, let's say, swirl to attack with cruise missiles. And we can see that the RQ-180 drone that we've put here is flying into this airspace uncontested. And we are also seeing here Israeli stealth drones that we've modeled with the RQ-170 entering Iranian airspace soon. Let's switch over to the Iranian sensor view. And you can see they have detected a lot more now here in the north. I think they detect them whenever they go over their crest with the radar. And here in the bottom, all these detections were also old. So with that said, let's look at the score. Let's say the scoreboard, and we see that the Iranians have launched 4 Hawk missiles, Hawk copies, to try to shoot something down. Don't know if it's successful or not. They're actually shooting one now, as we can see here. So there is a missile train that is being attacked with multiple Hawk systems, and we can see here on the bottom side if they hit. And we can see that the TATCOM used its significant speed and low altitude, and it basically missed. And there goes the next ones, another Hawk, the upgraded Mersat Hawk shooting a missile. It is 36 missiles, so it's important to note that single units here are not a single unit; they're a battery. Like, and as we can see in the case of the Hawk here, um, you can see that this Hawk consists out of 6 of these triple launchers that we have. So 6 trailers, each with 3 missiles. So that's quite a lot. That's 18 missiles, right? 2 vehicles for targeting and a fire control vehicle. So as you can see, these are 10 vehicles per unit here. So this is not a single thing. This is literally a battery. It's important to point out. And we can see about 20 minutes before 0 hour, Flight Rocket 6 goes out. What does it have? It's an F-4 Phantom from Hamadan Air Base going out with 4 Sparrows and 4 Sidewinders. And let's play again. And you can see how it simulates it. It simulates it actually quite accurately. You can see here. You can even have, it shows the G load, it shows everything on these planes. And what it does, it basically goes on a mission trying to intercept these detected Tomahawk missiles. And we're not going to influence anything, but what we will do is we look at the airfield and we can see that it is trying to get planes off the ground. Doesn't have a lot, but there are a bunch of planes, and they are trying to get airborne. And when we switch over to CENTCOM, we can see that CENTCOM, because the AirVax is not in place, shame on my planning. Certainly not something the US would happen for them. The reason why I put the planes further in the back was I figured that we want to have a big aerial E3 Sentry fly in to the border. I thought that was too much broadcasting with all the stealth planes coming in first, and I'm actually curious on how they figured this out. So okay. So a Growler detected the radar emissions, and a Raptor here detected it from its electronics intelligence systems because it picked up the radar signature. So it's just a passive detection from an F4 Phantom radar, basically. And we haven't seen more yet, but when I look at it, we are actually. I will need to continue the time. I'm sorry. We'll probably have a radar picture very soon because all these guys are moving in, and they're actually attacking. If you see Hamadan, they're attacking precisely the space where he just took off from. We're seeing more attacks on the Tomahawk missiles from Hawk copies. This is probably happening down here. Yeah, which is good. It doesn't matter, I think. They should be over provisioned, the Tomahawks, so that even if one gets shut down, they will still get the job done. You can see Sayat 3 missiles, so we have more systems, and we can also see that 2 Tomahawks just got shut down. 3 actually. One here, hit, one here. So we're not playing magic bullet versus Stone Age. No, they shoot tomahawks down, as you can see, and that's simulated, and that's happening, and that should be kept in mind. That what's happening here is not an attempt to make an overly enthusiastic image on how the U.S. can do this, but it's simply adding one to one together, and there's just an extreme disparity between the U.S. military capabilities and quantity of systems and what Iran has to muster. A bunch of old vacuum tube electronics planes, basically. Um, yeah, and we can see the Sparrow. It missed the Tomahawk. So they are trying, and we're simulating the Iranian forces that are in the system in this scenario, fighting back in any way that they can. Uh, so when you look at the results, and I think from test runs, I have a good understanding on where it's going to end. This is not such a drastic curb stomp because it's set up that way. It's because it's set up by the Americans to be working for them, knowing the strengths and weaknesses, right? And you can see nothing has hit yet from the U.S. side. At least nothing significant. Probably, no, nothing. This is interesting here. The Spice 250s, 25 were launched. These are basically down here. It is. This is basically an Israeli squadron of F-35s that has been tasked to destroy all the air defense around this airbase, and the other air defenses here. So I talked about this airfield here, um, the Vahati Air Base, and the plan of these units that just entered Iranian airspace briefly here is to destroy anything that is here, and they're using the Spice 250. It's basically a guided bomb with a glide system, so similar to what we know from the Russians as the UMPK, or the Western JDAM ER. So it's a similar system. Just this is a 250-pound class, so slightly bigger than a small diameter bomb. And they are able to throw these from approximately 60, 50, 40 miles into the target. And they have, as you can see here, GPS EO, means that it's GPS guided and electro-optical guided. So it will get to the area with the GPS, and then it will have an optical seeker look at the target and do some pattern matching and figure out how to hit it. Right. So the next ones that we're seeing up here, back to full speed, by the way. Whenever you touch the planes, it's just stopping. I'm sorry. Um, so 15 minutes ahead of the 0 hour, we can already see the Iranians have shut down probably half a dozen Tomahawks by now. Now, it's not going to be enough, let's say, but they're doing something. And the IRGC is fighting with all its claws, let's say, on making it go away. And we can see here the Golden Horizon, the Israeli air-launched ballistic missiles are now coming in. It's basically an Israeli Kinshal, if you will, just better. And oh my, switching to the Iranians. Look at this pop-ups here from all the. So now the Iranians really know what's up. I mean, they had all the radars light up before, but now you can really see it from the Iranian situation picture. It's all red, and it should be. It's 13 minutes to go, and in 13 minutes, most bombs or attacks will have hit, and then the follow-up attacks will immediately start. What I mean with that is you can see there's a second wave coming, and it's already on the way. So initially, they will knock out their defenses. What we're seeing here, down here, and in other sites, down here, up here, air defenses are being knocked out. And immediately after that, the second wave comes, or the second follow-up group that will not attack the air defenses because they will be destroyed, but they will attack the airfields directly, or the surface-to-surface missile, the ballistic missile sites, if you will. So we're now already in the phase where the final shots are being made on um, Iranian air defenses, especially here in the West. Most of them will not make it through the hour, and then we will see some very hard attempts to dismantle anything the Iranians have. And we can see it also down here. The golden horizons are raining in on this resonance radar. So this is, you can see the huge circle here. So most of the Iranian radar picture would come from here. And now we can see it's starting to show up, as you can see. We're seeing where we start to hit. That radar is off the table. We can see the SA-20 got destroyed, or at least partially destroyed. And we can see some of them missed. And down here it starts hitting targets already. So about 10 minutes before the 0 hour, some of the most important, let's say, battles have already been decided from the initial tip of the spear, as you call it, and then we will see on the follow-up action if they hold up to this. And with that said, here 10 minutes before the 0 hour, these are on a bit of the delayed, let's say, delayed mission, and this is why some of these B-52s are not. Some are loitering and looking for more targets. The others are returning to base. That will be very precisely handled in real life. And I need to figure out what's going on here. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Some of the mission generation systems has made a very interesting mission, a bad one. So one of the mission planners, hello Matrix, what are you doing with your software? One of the mission planning systems seemingly making very creative missions. Maybe that's also, yeah, okay. So these were part of the B-52 missions, I think. I'm just putting these here manually. Yeah. Yeah. Now the B-52s have launched their missiles, and are good to go. That's good because that looked a bit weird, I would say. I'm putting that here. Let's see if I missed one, because these were some absurd missile launch locations. So I don't know why it wanted to have them launch missiles in Russia, but they seem to have the fuel for it, as you can see. For 15 more hours, they have fuel. So this automatic mission code can sometimes be a bit. Uh, and now the simulated crews are all confused because the confuser tells them, "Oh, now you can change course and shoot all the missiles." Great. So let's see. Now we're going to the nitty gritty up here. And you see, there's practically no interaction from my side. I'm not playing this. I'm simply observing it and telling you about it. More of these absurd missile launch locations. Too, what the hell? I don't know what the mission planner was thinking here. Now you can actually see the pulse time has gone back a bit from the almost 2000 milliseconds per pulse that we had to 1200, because the more Iranian radars and units get destroyed, the faster it becomes again. So there was a time, especially now before the 0 hour, where it's very, very slow. And we have a first tally on what's going on here. So we can see that there's been a significant amount of losses already. Not so significant, but at least probably a dozen surface-to-air missile systems. And we are seeing the first engagement of Iranian SAMs here. So what is this? This is a Raptor. Oh, they're shooting at a Raptor. That's amazing. What was this Raptor doing? Oh, it's trying to get here. And this is not yet on the menu. This is on the menu right now. These are different sites, but the Raptors try to get here fast. So what does the Raptor do? You can see it's super cruising at Mach 1.6 and basically trying to get in there. This here seems to be defensive. Yeah, he's moving defensively against the incoming SAM. Let's click on the SAM and see what it is. Let's actually look at this from the Iranian side. Oof, that picture. But now the Iranians know that something is up, so to say, because it's red all over the place. And the Iranians also know that it's an F-22 because someone has a TV camera or a night vision camera on it. So, and here are the Iranians trying to at Hamadan airfield, trying to stop American cruise missiles that are going past nearby. For us, it has a good effect, and I would suggest maybe they are going to plan it similarly at some of the air bases. It scares the air crews. It gets them airborne, and when they're airborne, they can be shut down. When they're airborne, the crews have to burn fuel. They don't have tankers, so we can actually provoke a lot by having them scramble their fighters. But that said, I think this brave attempt of saving whatever is there to save is going to be quite feeble. Oh, we can see here there's a F4 Phantom attacking something. So, and he is an F-22. Looking forward to an F4 Phantom attacking something. I think it's going to be quite the simple first non-balloon shoot down for an F-22 right here. Is there another one? Oh, there's another one. Where is the balloon festival? Is it here? I don't know. Here we zoomed in a bit to the airfield at Desful, and we can see that I will actually clutter it, that we have significant amount of Israeli destruction of air defense. But here we can see another time the Hawk have shut down the bombs. So in principle, they have the ability to shoot down some of these missiles. They just are being saturated themselves. See here, the small city. Here also, there's the military airfield with a base. Almost the only one in not in the mountains, as we've talked about before, and that's why it's getting extra attention. And we can see these guys hitting all the time, and more coming in here. They start playing Britney Spears here. Hit me one more time, huh? This is starting to be 1 minute, 1.5 minutes before the 0 hour. We can see it's already pinging down below 1,000, and we can see, there we go, boom, first air-to-air kill here. MRAM hit F4 Phantom. What's going on? And the F-22s have had their first air kill, but they also decided to to go back to the tanker with just 2,500 kilograms of fuel left, and decided to shoot the last MRAM, and that seems to be in the no escape zone when you look at it. That's quite high. MRAM is over 50,000 feet. Needs to go down almost vertically now, and it has a radar lock, as we've seen, and it will probably hit him if he doesn't disappear in the ground clutter for the active radar of the missile. Nope, he didn't disappear. He is disappearing differently now. Boop. And another MRAM is also going through the chorus here. But oh, yeah, that MRAM is almost out of energy. And here, now it's getting really tense. We're at 0 hour now, and we are seeing dozens and dozens of missiles hit all over the place. I will just zoom out a bit and just leave it running. And you can see how at the 0 hour now we are going to witness a tremendous amount of impacts all over the place. I've had the bubbles enabled so we can all see a pop-up of hits that we get, especially also down there. We can get all the coastal installations. Everything is showing the pain now. And you can see it's basically dozens of hits across the country almost at the same time because we have so many assets in theater that can deliver very precise munitions over great distance, including into defended airspace. And some will certainly say, "Oh, this is not realistic. What you're doing." Yeah, we're actually using the real order of battle, and we gave the Iranians a whole lot more air defense than they than that we have in open source intelligence. So we gave them reasonable doubt. And we have no losses on the Israeli side, no losses on the CENTCOM side. And the Israelis, I like these glide bombs. I'm using 125 already, and we're seeing close to 250 cruise missiles, 350 cruise missiles being used. People may say, "Oh, that's insane." No, it's not. It's the scale of the Department of War, how they operate. Just 5 MRAMs out, 24 Stormbreakers, so that's the new small diameter bomb version. And far more about to hit here around Tehran, as we can see. Here we already have, I think, yeah, we have the first lightnings in return to base mode because they've done what they had to do. And we can see that we've put the tanker into a specific track at a specific time. That's the reason why some of them are not there yet, because all the train of Israeli planes, they need to come and get to the air bases now. And now we can see 2 minutes after the 0 hour, a bit later for some reason, the different missiles are starting to hit the well-defended area of the nuclear enrichment plants in Tehran, which is nuclear enrichment plants are here, and Tehran is up here. And we can see here, up here, we are also going to these more or less remote locations. Everyone here gets the treatment, as you can see. And I mentioned before that most of the western part of Iran will be depopulated when it comes to air defense and missile defense sites within the first 2 hours. And I believe that now you can see why, when you have such a shock and awe attack, that the assets employed are easily sufficient to make everything that's bothering you go away. From a US mission planner point of view, you can just go down to the deep end of the swimming pool and say, look, just going to take every pawn of the map from the enemy within the first hour or two. They will have the intel, I'm sure about that, and they will have the capability to do so. But of course, there are challenges. We're seeing these challenges here right now. Our combat air patrol, these two Raptor flights, are out of fuel. And we were too slow with the tankers. So now, instead of just being there, tanking, going back into the battle, both have to cover significant ground now to get closer to the tankers here. And we see more and more and more. And also Tehran, it must be quite the fireworks now when you look at the amount of cruise missiles entering this area. Quite impressive. Keep in mind the US side that we've just seen. Okay, the Iranians get the destruction messages. We constantly get hits, as you can see. And we only see a fraction of what's incoming when you compare this to what the Iranians actually see, which is this. Wait, this. And they just having such a negative effect. The radars are getting knocked out all over the place. So now they can basically not look anywhere. Constant destruction messages that we're seeing. So yeah, it's good. I think so far it worked out, as you can see. I hope this is generally it's a hmm, it's a slow format. I apologize for it, but it's a precise and genuine one. Like, we're looking at what's going on. Um, it's not the TikTok. It's the opposite of TikTok. What we're doing here, right? And you can see it here. It goes down, down, down. This airfield down here, this full Vahati airbase of Top 4. Now that there we go. The mud hens are in town. And what they're doing here is something that we've seen in various think tank and evaluations. They just bring 20 stormbreakers and just, you know, hand it to them. So each of those Eagles will probably drop all its 20 bombs on this airfield and the surrounding areas, but not like in the old days where you would basically carpet bomb things. But no, 20 pre-assigned targets or target points that will all get hit with a rather extremely high precision because these weapons are working, proven to work even in a GPS degraded environment. So they are really getting the shaft here. And that effort down here, you can see from this icon, they still have a sheltered aircraft here, but they are not going to survive. And here more, we have MRAMs going in, and a SAM trying to defend against an MRAM. It seems we see some phantoms here trying to wiggle their way out of the two MRAMs coming in from this flight of strike eagles. So let's see. Oh, the developments down here are really, really grave. This is where we have a full strike package. I'm going to switch to this view. A full strike package with the most modern mission setting with the GBU 53 Stormbreakers and small diameter bombs properly destroying an airfield. Like really properly, as you can see. This is why the STB is such a genius weapon. It's a small weapon. They can carry 8 on a single pylon where you have one Mark 84. And you just need to plug it in and say, look, I'm here. Can we go? And you have to basically specify the go time and everything. And then, oh, whoa, 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 jump to location. There we go. We have lost our first aircraft, an F-15 Eagle to a SA-5 Gammon. That is one lucky shot, but it is what it is. And who are they targeting? Oh, they are targeting the SA-5 regiment in Hamadan. Who would have thought? What a catastrophe. So that is going to be hard for combat search and rescue. So I hope the American forces have a better way of of dealing with that threat because they have tremendous range. These SA-5s, they're basically telephone pole shooters. So let's hope. But that's interesting. Huh? We lost a unit. And it was lost from this airfield, which is crazy when you think about the amount of firepower that is currently um, descending here. Now, with one unit lost about 10 minutes after the 0 hour, look at the losses. Yeah, it's adding up a lot. And one strike eagle is lost. Now, as you can see here, most of the cruise missiles. And we have a second strike eagle down. And this is why you use such tooling. You try to figure out where your combat weight is wrong. Ours is clearly wrong here. And this strike eagle was killed by, let's see, by we have to see, a Thai air defense unit. Yep. The strategy that we employed, and I think this is my mistake, I didn't assign individual air defense seat packages to each strike package because I wanted to have a more generic um, area defense, let's say. But what I'm noticing is that this is not there. And the reason why it's not there is probably very simple. Um, it's going to be done by F-16s, and they're probably not here yet because they have to get gas every minute from the tanker. But either way, it's the way that I planned it, and yeah, it didn't work the way that I planned it, obviously. And we will see. This is actually a seat patrol, interestingly. Not sure if a seat patrol got shut down. No, it was a strike package on Hamedan. So Hamedan strike package got shut down because the seat packages that are flying here have not done their job yet. But that's how it goes sometimes. So we lost to two strike eagles due to me not being a good mission planner, which is fine. And it shows you that such operations only work if everything is planned well. And I planned away from the Iranian sides to really use everything that they have and the fang of that heat as well. And there we see. This is also redundant mission planning, what you're seeing here, because when you think about it, all these cruise missiles that are hitting actually the airfield that the two F-15s were also supposed to attack. So could have sequenced that differently. So we've seen just 15 minutes after the 0 hour, two U.S. aircraft lost. I would still attribute that to mission planning. As you can see, as you have seen before, with the odd planning of the mission, that's all right. It's still doing a good job so far with the simulation, and this is way above the weight of command modern operations normally. The amount of units that we have here, two and a half, 2,400 units right now, and there's going to be, um, let's say, a specific amount of firepower about to hit the airfield. So this airfield, I think the only remedy that I should do if I would want to replace that or re-simulate that is move the mission of AB Kill Hamedan 20 minutes back. Then it's going to hit after the JASMs arrived, and then it's going to be a lot more difficult to get shut down there. And here we can see more. Okay. But yeah, here we see again. Most of this should have been dealt. The initial strikes should have been dealt with more strongly by others. We would not have this issue. And we will also be able to see the pulse time that was over 2000 once is down to 700 because all these destroyed units no longer occupy the system. And now is the mentioned big strike package on Hamadan coming in. And this reiterates what we've heard before from B2 mission units, that everything that they do is timed from starting of a meeting to giving a presentation to everything, because the timing of missions is so critical. We see it here. That strike package that lost two F-15Es, it was just too early. That cruise missile strike on the base is just evolving about 10 minutes after the strike got shut down. And that's um, kind of also a good lesson on why these things can be so insightful, because they give you that context. Like, look, you should have put them a bit on hold. No. And when we look at this now, we can see. You may not believe me, but there is a very viable approach that the U.S. military can take in making sure that the Iranian terror regime is basically getting on this part here, the teeth kicked out. When you look at how close we are already to Tehran, 20 minutes after the H hour, we are here approximately 140 miles from Tehran, already raising in everything, and our the Israeli troops actually flying in here, they are so close already, with a very big strike package moving in. And there is another big US strike package moving into these SSM sites, surface missile sites. And the US strike package here is about to deliver absolute destruction to this Kermanshah complex. The Kurumbat complex is being destroyed now already. So we are seeing a very significant amount of killing going on, and just going on right now. Actually, when you look at this, that most of the strike packages here on this full and Hamadan are unfolding now, and on some various other sites. So just giving the whole system here a bit of a credit. That we see a growler. What does it do? It's doing seed. Okay, that's the one growler pair that does seed, but it has to get fuel, and this is something that we've said we based off these bases there, but they still have to refuel a lot. You can see here this this F-15 here, F-16 here. This is also a thing. I should have moved the F-16s out a bit earlier, but and as they're not traveling the distance so quickly, they need to refuel along the way. The F-15s don't. So that's another factor on why the F-15s were probably a bit sooner than the F-16s, because the F-16s that were their escort, they were actually too late because they had to refuel. and it didn't account for that in the planning. But that's not the problem of trader vendors like myself, but for major players and the likes who are doing these missions. Now I will probably stop it at 2030 Zulu, because we have all the insights that we were looking for. We are seeing massive damage to the Iranian infrastructure. We are seeing massive damages to all the let's say stock here. We're seeing dozens of Iranian planes destroyed, mostly on the ground. We're seeing 50 Mersat starters destroyed, massive amounts of radars, massive amount of different Russian systems and locally sourced systems. So you can see here they have shot 164 Shahin, 211 Tahir, and all they got is two Strike Eagles for that. So nah. And the Strike Eagles were my fault, to be honest. So take that with a grain of salt. But also keep in mind that I made a timing error on the mission sequence, and they get shut down. This is not for nothing. This shows that the things have to work out. They have to be planned very diligently, and this is just one guy planning here on, as you can see, fairly complex mission. So no, to me, it's still proof that the U.S. has the firepower to achieve what they want to when it comes to regime change. And yeah, 25 minutes after Zulu hour, and you can see now it's the most painful time. All the targeting systems from the second wave are out, so the pulse is back to over 2,000 or 1,000, and I can really feel it in front of the machine. Like it's janky. It's not very reliable. So that's it. I will put the screen up from my side with the end result after 25 minutes, not 2 hours. And there we go.